So this little card that I'm showing you now, there's no place like Gnome, would be a cute card to send to friends and family. Put a little gift card in it. Or you could also use this as your home decor. Just put a little mat and put it in a frame and use it for your holiday decorating. It just is really cheerful. And so I'm going to show you today, I'm going to give you a couple of tips. We are going to be using a couple different techniques. We are going to be masking, we are going to be paper piecing, we're going to be die cutting. So let's get started. I hope you like the cute little project. I love gnomes, so cute. We are going to be using that new cut and emboss machine that Nikki recommends, and I highly recommend it too. It has made all the difference in hand cranking out these projects. All right, so let me show you what we need besides the Memento ink and the pencils. I am using a paper, a pumpkin. Oh my gosh, what is the name of this color? Help me out here. It is pumpkin. Crikey, what is it? All of a sudden the name of it escapes me. That tells me I have too many colors, Stampin' Up! Colors floating around in my brain. So this has been around like since I became a demonstrator. It's just pumpkin pie, right? Okay, so it's a pumpkin pie card base. I've already pre-scored it. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. And rats. I do not have my bone folder in my basket. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fold it over, and I'm going to do another trick because I do like it scored nicely. Barbara says, hi everyone. So, hey Barbara, I hope you're having a great day. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. I can already tell. When we can see blue in the sky, it's a good thing. All right, so here we go. We've got our pumpkin pie card base. I am using, like I told you, one sheet from the plaid tidings paper stack. And I picked this color. You could pick many of the patterns from this stack. This one has the beautiful pumpkin pie, crushed curry, some black, raspberry in it. When you flip it over, it would be a great Christmas project. So let's see, besides that, we do need, and here's where I'm using, and I pre-cut these. These are from the Celebration Labels dies, and I cut two, one for the outside of the card, one for the inside. So these labels are staples. If you've been stamping with Stampin' Up, we used to have this die called the Top Note. So this is kind of like what I'm thinking of as when I remember the Top Note, this beautiful shape, and this is the one I picked here. I think it measures about 4.5 by 3.25. Really sweet, and of course it's got the stitching on the inside and the outside of the cuts. We've got different sizes, so we've got, let's see, 5 different sizes of the labels. And what I love about this set, Stampin' Up! Has picked up on it. It's nice to have 2 of the little embellishments so you don't have to be hand cranking so much. So I've got one pulled already. I'm going to be using a spider on my card. So I've pulled that. I've pre-cut the labels. And if you weren't doing Halloween, you could do Valentine's Day, you could do Christmas. And it's also got these cute little border splashes. It's got 4. One is a smaller size. So you could accent your labels with some of these smaller embellishments. So I've pre-cut those. All right. And so I've got 2 labels. I need a scrap of white, a scrap of black, and there's one more thing I need. I am going to be cutting the alphabet, so I am using this cool new product. It's called Foam Adhesive Sheets. They are in the catalog alongside with the Stampin' Dimensionals. They measure about 4.25 by 4.5, so they're full sheets. So it's like a giant dimensional. And I'm going to show you how I use this. It is perfect for alphabets and for the scripted lettering that you want to elevate, but it's kind of difficult sometimes to adhere or trim down a dimensional to make that happen. So these foam adhesive sheets are the answer. And I'm going to be using about 1 inch by 4 1/4, I think it is, because it's nice that they gave it half the width of the paper. Of course, half of 8 1/2 would be 4 1/4, so you can take it half the width of the paper and then trim it down to whatever size you need. And I'm being really frugal with this. I'm not throwing away the excess. I'm holding on to it for future use. So need that. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to put a couple of these things aside. I am going to start by trimming down this plaid paper first. So what I'm going to be doing is, and actually got my paper trimmer out today. I don't have my chopper, my mini chopper, for a couple reasons. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to want to cover the entire face of the card base. So it's going to be 4 1/4. That's going to be my first cut. So I'm going to go ahead and put it up to the paper trimmer, bring it over to 4 1/4, and just trim it down. And I am going to need the smaller piece for some of my other stamping. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, that's a card front size. And I have now another 1/2 inch strip of that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my card front. I'm going to kind of get it out of the way. So I'm using my Tombow liquid glue, and hopefully it's not clogged up. Let's see, I'm just going to put a small little track of liquid glue. You know, it's my favorite because it's very forgiving. If I don't land in the right spot, I usually have a chance to shift it. Okay, and little trick, what I'm going to do is first align it to the fold in case my paper was not cut precisely. So I'm going to kind of stand my card base up, and then I'm going to bring it up and place it right up to the fold. That way it's aligned at the fold. Bring it over and kind of shift it around. Make sure it is the right size. So I can kind of open up the card, peek, and what do you know, I did cut that really nicely. Sometimes there's a little overhang, and this would be the time to trim it down. But this one's cut fairly nicely. All right, I'm going to burnish it with my ruler since I don't have my bone folder handy. And then I'm going to just kind of put that aside and get some stamping done. So let's see, on my scrap, I am going to be doing some paper piecing. I'm going to stamp the gnome's hat in the plaid. So when I take my gnome, I'm only worried about the hat. So I'm going to ink up, and I want to have some plaid. So let's see, I'm going to bring him right over here. And I am going to have to hand snip that. I'm going to put that aside. I need a full gnome on my white scrap. So I'm going to stamp that. And I'm going to be, you guessed it, I'm going to be hand snipping this little gnome. Just one element. So nice inking. I am going to also be cutting out a spider. So the spider comes from the Celebration Labels set. And I do have both the stamp set and the dies on this one. So stamp down my spider, and hopefully I get a nice inking because this is photopolymer. I probably should have had my piercing mat down. All right, so that's all I need for my scrap. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp my labels. And here's where it's going to be a little bit of precision going on. So I'm going to take my label. I do have my grid paper. So, you know, if you don't have grid paper for your projects, you probably want to get some. Sometimes it's okay to eyeball things. Sometimes you actually need a little bit more precision going on. And it's nice to have the grid on the paper. So what I'm going to do here, let's see. I tend to get really messy when I'm creating here. I have more things out than I need. So I'm going to have a guide because I am going, if you notice my card, there's a couple of things I want to be precise on. First of all, I want my lettering all to be lined up. And I want that no place like to be in position. I want it to be kind of close to the lettering, but not too far. And I want it to be going straight across. So I'm going to give myself some help with my ruler. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come down about 1/2 inch from the center of the label, that's where it kind of peeks in there. And I'm going to give myself a small light pencil line so I can use that for lining up. There we go. So that's going to line up my lettering. Then I'm also going to have a guide 1 inch above that because the letters measure approximately 1 inch. So let's see. Let me make sure I'm telling you the right thing. I don't want to mess up on this. And it is indeed 1 inch up. So I'm going to look for 4 grids. I'm just going to come up 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, I'm using the grid lines to help me draw the straight line. I'm looking on this side and then on the other side to make sure I'm lined up. Got my line going on. All right, and now I can stamp my greeting. Oops, made a mistake there. Let's see. My greeting comes from the Gnome set, Gnome for the Holidays, and it says, "There's no place like Gnome for the Christmas season." So of course, I'm going to want to mask off part of that greeting because we are making a Halloween card. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in just some Scotch tape. I'm going to tape off the part of the greeting I don't want. So I'm trying to be pretty precise that I'm just getting the lettering there. And not only do I not want for the Christmas season, I don't want the gnome in there because the gnome is my big alphabet letters. So I'm going to tape that off as well. All right, so here's where the technique comes in. Now I'm going to ink up. And I'm going to get some nice ink on that. Now before I stamp down, I need to take off the tape. I don't want to confess, but there have been times when I've forgotten to take off the tape when, of course, you're just going to have a big inky mess if you leave that tape on there when you stamp down. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and bring this back in. Move that out of the way so you can see here. And I am going to stamp down. I'm going to try and align this nicely. So it's kind of hard when my head is over top of the camera. There we go. All right, so nice inking down. And not bad, I like it. So I'm going to let that dry before I erase my pencil lines. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to need that label in just a second. And I need my second label. The second label, as I told you, is for the inside of the card. I've created the little greeting label, so I've stamped Happy Haunting. That comes from the Celebration stamp set, Celebration Tiding stamp set. And then I also stamped another little spider on that. So I'm going to bring in my piercing mat. There's my inside label. And I've got the Happy Haunting stamp. I'm going to ink up in black memento. And I'm going to put that up a little bit higher. I want to have room to sign the card. And I'm going to give that a nice firm pressing. So it's Happy Haunting. Then I'm going to stamp that cute little spider again. He's kind of hanging from that G. Stamp down. And I'm going to let that dry out before I add a little spider web with a marker. And I think I'm done stamping. Let's see if not yet. So one more thing, at the bottom of the label, I have stamped the cute little pumpkins from the Celebration Tiding stamp set. So there's a little frame for the bottom of a card. There's also spider webs you could put on. And let's see, I'm going to be using still the Memento Black ink and stamping down on the label at the bottom. So I'm going to come right up here, right above the stitching, center that in, ink down, and there you go, voila. So there we go. Well, now we have that ready to go, and I think I am ready to do some cutting. So No Place Like Gnome, I think I might be able to erase that, and I'm just taking a nice eraser so it doesn't leave behind any color, and just going lightly so I don't smudge the ink there. There we go. So that's taken care of, and let's see, we are going to be doing a little bit of coloring. We're going to use the watercolor pencils, and I'll tell you what colors I'm using. This is from the basic watercolor pencil set. Here we go. I've pre-sharpened all of my pencils. I have been with Stampin' Up! So long, I still have my pencil sharpener. Hey, Debbie Pence says hello. Glad you joined us, Debbie. So I'm making a cute little Halloween card. There's No Place Like Gnome. And that's because we are not letting Halloween get canceled. We are going to stay with one of my favorite holidays. All right, so I'm going to first color the label for the outside. And for the pumpkins and the leaves, I just need pumpkin pie and old olive. So I have some nice sharp pencils, and what I like, so I'm going in a round rotation coloring. It's kind of calming, and I'm going to be coming back in with a little darker definition around the shadow areas and the lines on the pumpkin. So now I'm just going to come in and kind of go a little bit heavier on those darker areas. Watercolor pencils are a great coloring tool and so inexpensive to get started with. So you want to make sure you have those on hand. Stampin' Up! Has two versions too. There's the basic, and then there's an updated set as well with some of the other colors not included, of course, in the basic set. So there we go. Pretty easy to watercolor. I'm going to use my old olive to come in and do the little leaves, little spray of leaves on this project. So sweet. I love gnomes. I have been shopping some of those discount home stores. They have the cutest little stuffed gnomes for home decor, and so far I have resisted bringing any of them home. They're too stinking cute. All right, I'm going to continue on still with my watercolor pencils. It's really nice to have some nice pointy pencils too. It really makes the job easier. So Halloween's from when I was a kid. Oh my gosh, I remember getting together with my cousins and going out trick-or-treating. My uncle would drive us out and take us around the neighborhood. We were just up late trying to get all kinds of loot in our big trick-or-treat bags. And when I say late, who knows, it was probably like 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Is when you're a kid, you think you're out like till midnight or something, but I'm sure he wouldn't have had us out past 8. Who knows? But we brought home a boatload of candy. Of course, Mom always went through it, and we got portions. We couldn't just have a frenzy with it. But I love those memories. And that's a great memory that I have with my uncle too. So I hope the holiday continues on for next generation. Alrighty, so now I'm going to color my gnome, and I'm going to start off with his beard. My gnome is a little bit aged, so I'm going to bring in a little bit of gray in the area. First the shadows, and I'm going to give him some gray whiskers throughout. So just making it really light. I did a little bit of darker grain around the border, coming in, coloring lightly, and adding some definition by pressing a little bit harder in some areas. Okay, I'm going to do his mustache, also gray. Then he has this great pinkish skin, so I'm going to do his nose and that tiny bit of his face that peeks out from the hat. So I am using Calypso Coral for his nose. And then also that tiny bit of his face. I am not going to be coloring the hat because we are paper piecing that. All right, oh, I need to do a tiny bit of his hands that peeks through that nice shirt. There we go. And let's see, his shirt overall is going to be rich raspberry, and I picked that up from the paper. So the plaid paper has some stripes, rich raspberry stripes. So bringing that color into his shirt. Now I'm just watercoloring. I'm not putting in any water. I'm not using a blender pen or a watercolor brush. Just going to color in with my pencils. There we go. So the tutorial I sent out today was for a home decor project. You could be interchanging the decor for throughout the year, so it covers all seasons. All right, so I've got my shirt done. I'm going to give him some green socks, and I'm going to do a little bit of black on those shoes. They're kind of like sandals, I think. That's what I'm calling them. There we go. And all right, so next I'm going to turn this ornament into his little pumpkin trick-or-treat holder. So we're coloring it orange. Nice and dark. I'm going to bring in the black for the handle area, and I'm actually going to add that part of the handle that's missing. Let's see, I'm going to come back in actually with one of these little multi-liner. It's a Copic marker. It's black and it's 0.03, so it's pretty thin. I'm going to go ahead and add that handle to his treat bag, and I'm going to add some jack-o'-lantern eyes and a little mouth. So coming in with his triangle eyes. Hopefully I'll get my pen to cooperate. It's drying out here. Not picking up the color. There we go. Wow. My pen all of a sudden is not working. I think I'm going to have to go for another pen. Let's push that aside for a second. What I am going to do until I get my other color marker, I am going to do my fussy cutting. So I'm going to start off by cutting that hat that we stamped on the plaid tidings paper, and I'm just going around the line here. So this is the paper piecing portion of the project, and I'm going to snip off that mistletoe that's hanging at the end of his hat. He would have that if it was a Christmas card, right? So Debbie Pence asks, is the watercolor pencil too waxy for the marker to work? That's probably what the case is, Debbie. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my black blender pen. So hopefully I didn't ruin my Copic marker, but I'm thinking that's probably what the problem is. Thanks for pointing that out. There we go. And I'm just going to come around. I need to kind of curve a little bit so we can still see his face. and his mustache. All right, so I fussy cut the hat. I am now going to go ahead and adhere that on top, so we are going to be cutting the gnome as well. And again, I'm using my Tombow liquid glue. Now you don't want to use a lot because that would just make a hot mess. Just a tiny bit. I do want it to be secure in all areas though. So I'm going to go ahead and push that over. Already he's looking cute. He's looking pretty festive. There we go. Oops. Again, the Tombow liquid glue, it's perfect because it's so forgiving. If you didn't get it in the right spot, you just slide it over and there you go. And let's see. I'm going to come in with my blender pen and add a little bit of water to this to kind of mix it up. You won't see the strokes as much. There we go. There we go. I like this better. Okay, and I'm going to do the same with his nose, blend that in, and his face. There we go. And then finally his beard. I think I like it blended better with the blender pen. And I'm still going to have to solve that problem with the black marker. So, hey Tammy, welcome in. Thank you for joining me. Yes, fussy cutting. And it seems like of late, lots of my projects have had fussy cutting in one of the steps. But these little gnomes are so stinking cute. They do not have dyes. And I think it's okay. Sometimes with the dye, it leaves that little white outline, and you don't always want that. So, and truly, this fussy cutting is not that detailed. It just takes a minute or two, and it's always worth it. It just adds so much more to your project. So those of you who just joined me, I am giving away a stamp set today. Let's see, my Merry Hellos, and I can't find it amongst my mess. All you have to do is either share the video or place an order, and you will be entered into the drawing to win the special stamp set. It is a hostess set, which means typically you would have to either be a hostess or place a large hostess order. But I am giving one away today. Actually, I'm going to be giving it away next Friday on Facebook Friday. So you have during the week to share the video and place an order. So there we go. And I'm kind of looking forward to fall. It's my favorite season. Of course, Halloween is always fun, and I think it helps our lives feel more normal when we have the holidays to look forward to. I don't know about you, but I am tired of being cooped up. I'm ready to get out with friends and enjoy their company, not just on a computer, not just on the phone texting, but actually seeing friends. All right, so as you can see, I'm almost done. I do have a little tiny snip to make right between his feet, right in here. Then we're going to be doing some die cutting. I am using the Playful Alphabet set, which is very cool. I love the size of the letters. They're going to be perfect for this project. And I'm just going to come in with a few little snips in here, and then we're ready to go on. There we go. All right, there is my gnome. All I have to do is add his jack-o'-lantern eyes and that jack-o'-lantern smile. I'm going to grab a blender to do that. But I'm ready to move on. Here's the cute little There's No Place Like Gnome card that we're working on. And I'm now ready to cut the lettering. And what I'm doing is using the foam adhesive sheets. It's like a giant dimensional, so these letters are going to be popped up. Not sure if you can tell in here. There you go. Oh, Sandy says so cute. Thank you, Sandy. All right, so what we are using a scrap, a 1-inch scrap of basic black. And the first thing I'm going to do, I cut a strip, a 1-inch strip of the adhesive sheet. And I'm also going to need a tiny snippet of the plaid for my O. So I'm going to bring back in my paper trimmer and cut this down to 1 inch. And just 1 inch, so I think I'm going to take like from there. I just need the tiniest bit for my O. There we go. Now my first step is going to be to add the black to the foam adhesive. And I'm going to try and do that kind of neatly. And let's see, I'm going to start off with, I'm going to do my plaid first. And hopefully I have about 1 inch. Then I'm going to bring in my black. And I'm going to bring in my playful letters. I already pulled them. I need a G on the black. I need an N. And I'm just going to put those right on there. Kind of sticky. There we go. Now my O is going to be on the plaid. So I'm going to bring this over and I'm going to try and get it right in there. I need an M and the E. All right, now sometimes our letters tend to move around on that big shot. I'm going to use, this is the press and seal, and it's a great tool for keeping your small dies in place. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to smush that on top. That way the dies don't move from my paper, because it's so annoying when you get half of a letter chopped off. I am going to bring in my new stamping cut and emboss machine, which comes highly recommended from Nikki, who won the stamping cut and emboss machine. She picked it up this week. All right, so let's go. And already my paper's shifting. Let's see. It's going to be pretty easy to solve this though. I'm going to bring that in so you can see, and I'm just going to move this over and secure it down so that my letters don't move around. Yeah, thank you, Barb. Barbara says she loves the press and seal idea. It is helpful because your dies are not lurking about on the cutting. I'm going to crank it through. And let's see, I'm going to move the machine out of the way. Get rid of some of the platforms so I don't make a mess. There we go. There are my letters that I need. Now I'm going to bring back in my label. I'm going to peel off my letters. So just doing it gently. And it should kind of pull the letters when I pull off the press and seal. You have to be gentle because you could tear the paper. What I neglected to do was get a little bit of oil, like maybe from my skin on it, so that it is not as aggressive, but I think we're doing okay here. There we go. All right, so everything's intact. I'm going to get my letters now. The press and seal also helps to set aside your small dies. That way they don't get lost, because they have a tendency to kind of walk when they're so tiny. All right, so I've got my, and you know Anna Marie, she saves everything. I'm going to want that center of the O for something. It makes a cute polka dot. There we go. There's my O. E. That's my M. N. So if you don't have any of these adhesive sheets, you're going to want to get them. They make it really easy to elevate. Oh, what happened was my G's hanging off part of the adhesive. Put it at the wrong end of the strip. I think it'll be okay though. There we go. All right, so I've got that. Now I'm going to go ahead and add them to my label, and I'm going to start at the far left because I want to have room for my gnome. I don't want to use the whole space on the label for. Now I'm going to use my line that I drew earlier, adhere my G down, and just going to space them using that pencil line as a guide. There's my O. And I realize I forgot to cut my spider. I'm going to need to come back to the machine. There we go. M. And E. There we go. So there's no place like gnome. I need my spider though, so let me go ahead and get that as well. And view, I stamped that when I stamped my gnome earlier. Let me just go ahead and cut that spider so I can add them, or add it. And whoa, let's see, light fell over. It's a little bit off balance there. All right, cranking the spider through. And there's my tiny spider, and all I did on the spider, I just put a tiny bit of liquid adhesive on here to hold that in place. It's already popped up on dimensionals for the letter. There we go, just like that. All right, so next I am going to adhere this to the card front. And again, this is just flatted here, so I'm just going to use a little bit of the Tombow. And I'm going to center it, so let's see. Right in here, looks pretty centered. All right, but let's see, I can also do my inside, and I'm going to need my pen, so give me a second while I grab my Stampin' Blend. It's on. Use the Stampin' Blend instead of my micro pen. So let's see, bring in the little pumpkin. Gonna make my jack-o'-lantern eyes, little triangles, and a big jack-o'-lantern smile. And the gnome is going to be popped up on dimensionals. Let's see if I can straighten that out. All right. And I put a mini dimensional at the top of his hat, so he'll kind of be balanced there. All right, here we go. Gonna pop him right in there. So there's no place like gnome with my festive little trick-or-treating gnome. On the inside, I'm going to bring in my happy haunting, and I'm just going to draw a light little spider web. down to the spider, and that gets flat adhered so you have a place to sign your greeting. And I know it's not, well, I know I'm not expecting a lot of trick-or-treaters this year, but I still send out treats to my kids and my friends. So a little Starbucks coffee card would be awesome inside. There's no place like Gnome. Happy haunting. And I think it's pretty cute. What do you think? So that came from the Plaid Tidings Suite with the little help from Gnome for the holidays. There you go. And once again, if you are interested in going into the drawing for the Merry Hello stamp set, all you have to do is either share the video or place an order, and there is a link at the top of this post. If you'd like to join my mailing list, that's also at the top of this post. And I will see you. Oh, one more thing. I am still taking registrations for the Portfolio Forever Fern class and the free card class. So every $35 order this month is also earning a free class, and that includes free shipping. Just requires a $35 order. You will get the class in the mail, all materials pre-cut and scored for you. And here is the prize I'm giving away next Friday, Facebook Live at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Debbie says very cute. I'm going to put a man on my pumpkin. I love it. All right. So thanks for joining me. Have a great weekend. Things are looking up this week. Much better week. Nice with the air clearing up. Maybe next week will be even better. I will see you next week at 2. Thanks for clicking by.